If Trump does change the law and runs for a third term, hypothetically, do you think your husband would consider running?
I hope not. After all this great conversation and connection, the top of the article would be she was wearing, not my education, not my, not my professional career, but it started with appearance.
Michelle Obama is opening up like never before about her experience in the public eye throughout the years, especially the scrutiny she faced while she was the First Lady of the United States. The author sat down with Alex Cooper for the January 21st episode of Call Her Daddy and candidly talked about a range of topics, including how the media focused on her appearance while she was campaigning with Barack Obama when he was running for President of the United States in 2008. In the 2-hour-long sit-down, Michelle explains that when she first started campaigning, she wasn't doing big speaking engagements. Instead, she was going to people's backyards. Then, as she became more popular, the speaking events came, and the media coverage started. But she noticed they were always focusing on one thing.
After all this great conversation and connection, the top of the article would be she was wearing, not my education, not my, not my professional career, but it started with appearance. And it got worse as we got better. So I understood it as campaign tactics.
Even though her appearance was under scrutiny, Michelle explains to Alex why she didn't take it personally.
I could separate it out and go, well, this is politics, right? It's like, what better way to beat a moving engine is to try and slow it down. And so with women, what do we do with women? We start sort of talking about their strength and so then I was angry, not passionate. It was a rolling thing, and I attributed it totally to politics, and I didn't write it off to what people really thought, because I had months and months of understanding that the people in those auditoriums and in those school buildings and at those speeches, they understood who I was.
And although she was able to compartmentalize what was happening to her, she acknowledges that her husband wasn't experiencing the same thing. Michelle's appearance wasn't the only thing that was scrutinized. Her tone of voice was too.
What I found that I had to do, I had to be more thoughtful about my tone. I didn't agree with it, right? But I was like, until people get to know me, okay, let me smile a little bit more. Let me make sure I smile, right? Because sometimes I'm talking and it's like, blah, blah, and that's the photo they get. Right? So that's on the front page. I was like, I didn't feel that way, but that was in the middle. And I didn't like this, but I'm like, okay, we still live in a society that has a different standard for women.
Another topic Michelle talked about, her relationship with Barack, adorably revealing she never had to tone herself down or change when she met him.
Fortunately, it was one of the things that drew me to him. Like I didn't have to change my fundamental self. I think it helped that we started out that summer with me not seeing him as a potential because I was his advisor. And I was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Right. And why? He's cute, but I have a lot of friends. And so I think that helped. Right. Because we didn't start up our relationship as, oh, I'm going to try to, yeah, and maybe it would have. But I think we kind of entered it, as peers, and we developed our relationship because we had the same kind of humor.
Years into the relationship, Barack got involved in politics, and they eventually made it to the White House when he became the 44th President of the United States in 2009. He was in office for 8 years. Now that she's been out of the White House for nearly a decade, would Michelle ever go back? Alex asked her that question while quoting a remark she made in November 2025, when several people were asking her if she would ever consider a presidential run. At the time, Michelle said, quote, "As we saw in the past election, sadly, we ain't ready. That's why I'm like, don't even look at me about running, because you all are lying. You're not ready for a woman. You're not." Now in her conversation with Alex, Michelle explains that although the country has come a long way, there is still work to be done before people can accept a female president.
We've come a long way, and what my husband has said, and I agree with, change takes time. Whether people really feel yet that they can follow a woman as president, like we would just be silly to think that there aren't just some gut kind of, I don't know. Like we're not even analyzing what those feelings are about because we're trying to pretend like it's all better. And I just think, well, how could it be all better? I mean, we've been feeding off of this bone for so long. It doesn't just go away. It takes time, right? So, but we're moving. We are moving in that direction.
She then addressed her November quote directly, explaining that there was some underlying humor in the remark.
That statement was, there was the humor of it, like, stop looking at me, right? So that it's also my wry humor. It's like, come on, people. There were people who, there are men out there that were not going to vote for a woman. That's though you people have had those conversations, right? Let's just be real about it and let's put that on the table and talk about, well, what's that about? Let's not be mad because I made the statement. Let's look at the fact that we've had two really qualified female candidates. We've had qualified women, and they just, again, if they're not perfect and they don't cross every T and dot every I, there's a falling shortness that is happening that I'd say, look, well, why can't we talk about that? Why are we pretending that didn't just happen?
Regardless, Michelle has hope that the United States will elect a woman president soon.
There were some people, even within the Democratic Party, that disagreed with your statement publicly. People came out and just said, just because we didn't like the candidates, that doesn't mean we aren't ready for a woman.
Well, I hope so. Like, yeah, great. And look, that doesn't mean that women should roll up their sleeves and call it a day. Like we're still growing, So yeah, I think it's gonna happen. Are we ready now? I don't know. Prove us wrong. I would love that.
Now that Michelle has expressed her thoughts on running for president, would she be open to Barack running for a third term despite the current 2-term limit?
This is all hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
If Trump does change the law and runs for a third term, hypothetically, do you think your husband would consider running?
I hope not.
Michelle.
I would actively work against that.
The whole world starts crying.
I would be at home working against it. And maybe a lot of people be like, good, we don't want him anyway. And I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Michelle then further clarified why she doesn't want her husband to run again, explaining she thinks it's time for someone new to come in with a new perspective.
I do believe in the need for new vision, right? I mean, the 2 terms is not just about we like him and we want it. It's just like we're changing and growing so fast. This is a hard job. And it requires new energy, new vision all the time, new ways of looking at the world, right? So I do believe that 8 years is enough. Like, so, and there's so many talented people out there. Like, why would we keep going with the same people? I would be a proponent for how are we going to build young leaders if the same people keep doing it again and again and again?